Welcome, everyone. Today, we're going to dive into the art of the Chinese self-introduction. But here's the thing. We're not just going to memorize phrases. We're going to treat this like a fascinating text, something we can really analyze deeply. Together, we're going to uncover the grammar, the incredible stories behind the characters, and the cultural details that make this simple act so meaningful. So, let's get started. All right, so here's our game plan for today's lecture. We'll start by looking at a complete model self-introduction. Then we're going to put on our linguist hats and break it down, piece by piece. We'll look at everything from the sentence structure to the individual characters to really understand what's going on under the hood. Okay, first things first, let's look at our target. These 4 sentences right here, this is the complete self-introduction that's going to be our main focus for this entire session. Now, I really want you to listen closely to the flow and especially the tones as I read these out loud. This is what we're aiming for. Let's go. First one. 我叫玛丽. Hear that? Let's try it again. 我叫玛丽. You hear that dipping tone on 我 and that sharp falling tone on 叫. Next up. 我是美国人. Again. 我是美国人. Same thing on 我 and another sharp fall on 是. Then we have 我20岁. One more time. 我20岁. And finally, 我学中文. And again, 我学中文. This is our foundation, and we'll keep coming back to these 4 sentences. Okay, now for the fun part. Let's start to peel back the first layer. We're going beyond just what we're saying and getting into the how. We're about to look at the beautifully simple, really powerful grammar that holds all of these sentences together. So what you're looking at here is the core logic of Mandarin sentences: subject, verb, object, or SVO. And for all of you English speakers out there, this is fantastic news. It means the basic word order is exactly the same as what you're used to. It's going to feel familiar, pretty intuitive right from the start. You've got the subject, the who or what doing the action, then the verb, the action itself, and finally the object, which receives the action. It's a really logical flow. This table just breaks it down perfectly. You can see that consistent SVO pattern. Look at the first 2. Subject, 我, verb, 叫, object, 玛丽. Subject 我, verb 是, object 美国人. See? It's perfect. But now, I want you to look very closely at that third sentence, the one about age. You'll see the verb 是, which means to be, is actually missing. Now that's not a typo. This is an absolutely crucial grammatical point. In Mandarin, when you state your age, or really when you describe things with adjectives, you often just drop the verb to be. So you literally say, I 20 years old, not I am 20 years old. This trips up a lot of beginners, but once you get this down, your Mandarin is going to sound so much more natural. All right, so we've looked at the sentence blueprint. Now, let's look at the actual building blocks, the characters. It's so important to get this. These are not just random squiggles on a page. Each one has a history, a story, an idea baked right into it. Let's take the character for person, run, as our first example. You can literally see its journey through time here. It began as a super simple drawing of a person, seen from the side, carved onto ancient oracle bones. Over time, it got a little more stylized, a little more fluid, like you see in the seal script. But even today, in its modern form, you can still totally see the 2 legs supporting a body. When you see that connection, it's not just memorizing strokes anymore. You're remembering a picture. It makes it so much easier. Now, how about the character for I, or me, 我? Its ancient history is just fascinating. It used to be a picture of 2 opposing spears. Think about that for a second. 2 spears facing off. That's such a powerful image, right? It suggests this idea of defending your identity, of asserting who you are. So when you write 我, you're not just writing a pronoun. You're tapping into this ancient idea of self-assertion. It's pretty cool. This one is really one of my favorites. The character for to be, 是, has this deep philosophical concept built right in. It's made of 2 parts. On top, you have 日, the character for the sun, a symbol of clarity. And on the bottom, you have 正, which means correct or straight. The logic is that for something to be, for it to truly exist, it has to be as clear and undeniable as the sun's path in the sky. It's this beautiful statement about existence, all packed into one character. And this is a fantastic example of how culture is baked right into the language. The character for country, 国, is a box, a boundary. And inside that box is the character for jade, you.
Now, in Chinese culture, jade is everything. It's not just a rock. It symbolizes purity, virtue, value, royalty. It's the ultimate treasure. So a country is literally treasure protected within its borders. It's a powerful worldview that sees a nation's people and its culture as something precious to be protected.
Okay, so we have the structure, we have the building blocks, but none of that matters if you can't say them correctly. We absolutely have to talk about pronunciation and tones. In Mandarin, the tone isn't just an accent, it's part of the word. Change the tone and you change the meaning. Let's really zoom in on the word wo, which is a third tone, which means it has this falling, rising shake. I want you to listen as I say it, and then you try it. The correct way is wo. See how my voice dips down and comes back up? Wo. Okay, now you try. The mistake most beginners make is saying it with a flat, high tone, like this. Wo. It's totally flat. Can you hear that difference? Wo versus wo. Getting that right is a huge step. Okay, I want to give you a heads up on 3 common traps that students fall into. First, flat tones. You got to make sure your rising tones really rise and your dipping tones really dip. Second is aspiration, that little puff of air. The P sound versus the B sound, for example. They sound similar, but that puff of air makes all the difference. And third, there's a rule called tone sandi. The classic example is ni hao. Ni is third tone, ha is third tone, but you never say them that way. The first one changes to a rising second tone, so it becomes ni hao. If you can get a handle on these 3 things, your pronunciation will improve dramatically. So we've covered the how to build the sentences, how to say the words. But that's only half the story. To truly connect with people, we have to understand the why. Why is an introduction structured this way? This is where language meets culture, and honestly, this might be the most important part of our lecture today.
So let's think about this for a minute. In our model introduction, nationality and age come up right away. In a lot of Western cultures, asking someone's age right off the bat might even seem a little rude, right? So why? Why are these details considered so basic and so important in a first meeting?
Understanding this is absolutely essential, especially if you plan to live or work in a Chinese-speaking place. Stating your nationality isn't just a fact, it's an immediate way to find common ground. And age is all about figuring out the social hierarchy and showing respect. It tells you how you should address someone. If you learn that they're older than you, you're not going to just call them by their first name. You'll probably use a more formal title. This isn't about being nosy. It's about being culturally aware and building good relationships.
All right, we have analyzed the blueprint, the building blocks, the sounds, and the cultural context. Now it's time to synthesize all of it. We're going to put everything we've learned together so you can build your own introduction and do it with real confidence.
Now it's your turn. I want you to follow the steps you see here and literally build your own introduction. Substitute your own information. And please say it out loud, right now. As you're speaking, really focus on that SVO structure and the tones we talked about. Does your wall have that third tone dip? The key here is practice, not perfection. Just give it a try.
And that brings us to our final thought for today. You now know how to make a statement about yourself. That's fantastic. It's the first half of any interaction. But communication is a two-way street, right? So how do you turn your statement into a real conversation? How do you ask for their name in return? That question, well, that is the next exciting step on your journey.